Welcome to Dropped In, Dr. Paul. It's wonderful to be here with you and to share you with our Dropped In community.
Thank you, Megan. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to our conversation. So for those listening, as opposed to me sharing your bio, I would love to learn from your own self what you do and what you do in this world.
Okay. I was prepared to hear my bio, but that's a good way to start. Yeah, so I'm a physician by training. I've been trained in public health and preventive medicine as my specialty training. And I'm married for 33 years. I have 5 sons, 2 daughters-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. Actually, that's the most important stuff. In terms of my journey, yeah, I started in biology and then went into medicine and then leaped into public health, looking at the health of populations, sort of like a meso level. And then I started looking at all of humanity and looking at health patterns and human flourishing. And that took me into political advocacy and the idea that the way that our social, economic, and political systems are organized actually is the main determinant of health outcomes or human flourishing. So if there's systems of oppression that oppress, create economic oppression or racial oppression or gender oppression or whatever form of oppression, if the system is creating that, then that actually is what leads to worse health outcomes, declines in human flourishing, suffering, all that kind of stuff. So I just got to the root cause of the social determinants of health, and that is really our social, economic, and political system. So I do advocacy and campaigning and movement building as my profession for the last 36 years. I've worked on campaigns globally in the United States. Some have failed. I failed forward. There's been some good wins, and that I'm part of a collective movement. It's never one person; it's all a collective. But creating those moments of possibility is what I'm up to now.
Oh my goodness. I love that. Creating movements of possibility. That's something I can get behind for sure. Yeah. So when you're a little boy, did you imagine yourself doing the work that you do today? Was it something that you feel that you've always been called to do?
No, I mean, as a young child, I don't know where I came up with this, but I thought it was going to be like a district attorney, a lawyer, and like working in the legal system. And then I went totally in another direction. So as I was a young adult, I developed a sense of myself as a healer, and I see myself as such, in terms of my medical background, my public health and preventive medicine background, and my spiritual background. I also have had a deep spiritual journey in life throughout these decades, and I was recently ordained as a Shir HaShirim rabbi, a rabbi of a particular text called the Song of Songs, which is really focused on the path of love and love, between each other, of course, but also with the great mystery. So, whatever you call that, vertical access. People call it different things. So, whatever it's called for you. Yeah, so all that is part of healing in my, my understanding of what I'm up to. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So what led you to, let's drop into the world of the spiritual realm. What led you into this line of work that you do today in terms of the spiritual guidance that you received?
Oh, well, I wrote a memoir back in 2018, so I share the story there. So basically, I had like a mystical awakening in 1995. I had this like major visioning experience where I thought I saw the future, and I saw human transformation unfold. I saw us heal the wounds. I saw us join together in a global, peaceful, sustainable community. And I have been living into that vision, actually. And this is right now what I'm up to now with my book, Revolutionary Optimism, 7 Steps for Living as a Love-Centered Activist. and the movement building work that I'm doing with hashtag Unify USA and hashtag Unify Movements, all that is a culmination, is the seventh experiment. I've had 6 other experiments over the last, decades that I've learned a lot, but they've not succeeded. And, I'm going for 7. I don't know if this will succeed or it'll, or someone else will have to carry the mantle, or maybe it'll be the 8th or 9th experiment. Who knows but I feel like we're on the cusp of a peaceful revolutionary transformation. I sense that is possible. And I am trying to invite people into that idea because it's a we. It's not about me. It's got to be we that choose that. So that's where I'm kind of at with it.
Oh my goodness. I love your vision. I love your mission. I love your work. It's so needed and so profound. And I would love to join forces on the topic of we, because that's where I feel like we're headed as well. So,
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So share with me hashtag Unify USA. What is that all about?
Yeah, so builds on what we just mentioned about like getting at the root cause of our socioeconomic and political system. So I've been like looking at this for a long time now, and what I've come to believe is that our Constitution itself was written as a caste system. It was designed for one group to oppress other groups of people. So it was white male elites. A majority of them were slave owners. So it legalized slavery. It legalized, gender oppression, and we're still living into that. That's still what we're living under. It also created extractive capitalism as the modus operandi. So that is causing us to pollute the atmosphere with carbon pollution, and it's questionable whether our planet is going to be livable for future generations. So I feel a sense of urgency to try to do whatever we can to interrupt the status quo and try to reboot humanity here in the United States and globally. So yeah, Unify USA is about constitutional renewal and transformation. We had a mini breakthrough, or a big breakthrough, in July. I attended with a group of stakeholders the People's First Convention. It was another political convention held in Milwaukee, but it was very small, only a couple hundred people. It was an interpartisan gathering of people, and we adopted and started signing the Declaration of Interdependence. Isn't it true? We actually are interdependent.
Yes.
We're not independent. That was a myth.
So true.
And so we wrote a whole declaration of interdependence, and now we're working on a US 3.0. So we had Articles of Confederation, US 1.0. We have US Constitution, US 2.0, and the Interdependence Covenant is what we're proposing for US 3.0. Boom, boom. So we're working on that, and we're ready whenever the we is ready, and we don't know what's going to happen. There could be flashpoints where certain political violence could occur, or people could suspend the Constitution, or there could be 2 attempts, or we have no idea what's going to happen in the next 6 months. So we're just ready in the case there's an opportunity to say, hey, this isn't working, obviously. Because those risks are there. That's the evidence of it not working, as one bit of evidence. Yeah, the heart of America has died, and I'm feeling like my role is I'm the transplant surgeon. We're in the operating theater now. We birthed a new heart, and now we're trying to implant it, and we're ready. So we want to do it fast. We don't want to take 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
No, we don't have the time.
Well, I mean, I think that, but
there is a sense of urgency, very much so.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. There are a lot of us that think that way, right? So that's why I wrote this book. That's why I've been doing this. I'm happy to be with you today, to connect with other love-centered, like-hearted people on the planet, because we are all there. We need to connect and unify and bring something forward.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. So I know when you say we, I'm well aware of who you're encompassing, but when you speak of we, like within your own team, who are your greatest allies? Do you have your family members? I know you mentioned you have 5 boys. Are any of them on your team in terms of this revolution that you're creating?
Well, they certainly are very supportive of what I'm up to, and they inspire me. Having sons who are, in millennials and Gen Z creates like an accountability, kind of chorus around me, and helps me modernize my thinking, decolonize my mind, and see things more vividly because of how they help me see reality. So they're definitely part of my life, my journey, and they're very supportive of what I'm up to with everything I'm up to. Yeah. So that's they're all doing their own, they all have their own journeys though. So, we support each other to fulfill on our soul's purpose, as each. So,
yeah.
Yeah. But on Unified Movement's website, you can see there's 25 featured movements. Those are some of the movements, a lot of the big ones that I'm connected with now. Those are pathways of engagement. If you have a particular issue area that you're focused on, you can find one there. And all this work that I mentioned about constitutional renewal and moving forward with a Declaration of Interdependence. You'll appreciate this, I think, just quickly. The 10th principle of the Declaration of Interdependence is about living into global interdependence, about respecting other cultures, doing cultural exchange, creating a global community of interdependence. So what we realize is that we can't figure that out ourselves. We have to consult with people all over the world about what do they think global interdependence would look like or could look like. And the systems of oppression that I described are global in nature. They're not limited to the United States. So the colonial powers, the economic system that's operating globally. So I have been on phone calls in the past couple of weeks with #Unify Zambia and other countries who also, young people especially, believe that peaceful revolutionary transformation is urgently needed because their societies are not meeting their needs. They're caught up in this old paradigm.
Very much so. Yes, it's time for the new paradigm.
You think so?
I know so.
What do you think it would take to get to the we?
Oh, well, I'm a firm believer it all starts in your own home. So it starts with me. It starts with me getting to the root cause as to what, some of my pain points are, and taking radical responsibility, and then creating a ripple effect from that healed space. And yeah, so it begins in our household. First and foremost, begins within ourselves. And then from that, utilizing that vision, that mission. I'm a firm believer in the work that I facilitate with my clients is to build this solid foundation to create this profound ripple effect within themselves, their community, the collective, and generations to come. So, but it all comes back to me in order to.
Yes. Well, we are completely aligned. Revolutionary Optimism, the first half of the book is about self-liberation. So all that stuff that you just described is all there. Self-care, self-love, self-liberation, managing your triggers, radical self-responsibility, and then accessing the vertical. That's part of one's personal work. Then step 4 is peace crafting. It's about how we relate to each other. That's an interesting, it's the heartbeat of the book. And then the second half of the book is collective liberation. What are our radical visions? How do we build love-centered movements? What are peaceful revolutions, and what does unifying look like? So it was very aligned with what you said. It was completely the same, actually. And it's that there is an alchemy there, and you were saying this too. There's some kind of interaction. You call it a ripple effect. between our self-liberation. There's like an energy that is then available for collective, healing.
Collective healing, indeed.
So I feel like that's an exploration that I'm still, learning every day.
Mm-hmm. What's that, collective healing?
No, how, like, my own journey of healing, which I'm on,
Mm-hmm.
I'm stretching myself as a revolutionary optimist, and it's creating healing within me by
Mm-hmm.
growing and stretching, crossing boundaries and creating, like living into what this is for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's part of the journey is to stretch and grow always.
100%. Do you believe others can heal through you through osmosis?
No, I don't think so, actually. I
No?
don't, I mean, there is an energy field. So if I'm in a healing, when I'm in my highest self and I'm really in the flow of being a healer, I think it does have an effect on the energy field around me.
Mm-hmm.
And also my voice and my words when I'm using love speech and when I'm when I'm using counter shaming language and lifting people into how I see them as their highest self,
Mm-hmm.
which is not how people always see themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in that way, there's like an effect that happens. But the work that we're talking about, the self care, the self love, the self liberation, all that it's personal choices that each of us has to make ourselves. So, really, totally, radically self determined.
Yes. Yeah. So, Revolutionary Optimism, I absolutely love the title of your book. I am gathering what the catalyst was for writing it, but what is your hope and inspiration behind the book?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I realized that 2024 and 2025 were going to be kind of immense years. And through my journey, I realized that I have faced suffering directly all over the world. Like I go to where it seems to be really bad. And I have always come out of that with like a revolutionary optimism. It took me this long to, identify that trait of myself. And I knew I was optimistic, but I really am owning that I am revolutionary by nature, and I believe in evolutionary progress, and I think that's always going on. And there are moments and times in history where there's revolutionary transformation, and I think we're in one of those right now. That's my sense. A Kairos moment of possibility is what some of my Reverend Adam Taylor calls it. One of my Christian mentors. So the book is really a handbook for this passage that we're going through as humanity, and it purposely is intending to do what we just talked about: self-healing, creating a ripple into collective healing, and peaceful revolutionary, using the teachings of Martin Luther King and Gandhi, for our times. Peaceful resistance is what I call it. And everyone can do it from their home, their office, wherever they're at. Also, there's a certain number of us who have to go on the streets and protest, and I certainly do peaceful resistance. I've been arrested for demanding that our government ensure that we have a livable future for my children and grandchildren and future generations. And that is not the path we're on right now, sadly.
No.
I don't know. Did I get off track? I don't remember what the question was.
No, you were right on topic. I was asking about the catalyst behind your book and revolutionary optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a handbook for our times and to engage people in revolutionary transformation. My theory is that the violent revolutions are already unfolding with great velocity. We have gun violence on the streets. We have mass shootings. We have mass incarceration. We are funding our government, our taxes, $1 trillion annual military industrial complex with 750 bases around the world, plus the multiple wars that are going on and the provocations that seem to be intensifying all over. I mean, plus the climate emergency and the devastation and all the suffering that is creating. The Pentagon is the #1 carbon polluter, by the way, on the planet. So it's all interrelated. And so I feel like there's a practice in my book called imagining future generations. So I imagine my 2-year-old granddaughter, Bertie, when she's 80 in 2100. When I wake up every day, I receive her praise to all of us, including me, for all that we did to make the planet survivable and livable for her in 2100, and she's standing there with her children and grandchildren. So I'm like, it's go time, you know. It's like we got to go now.
Wow, I am flooded with shivers. That is profound, and you read my mind because I was about to ask you, what is your vision for our future? And there it is. So, oh my goodness. Oh, thank you so much for your work. It is just such a blessing to meet you, and I'm so inspired by you and your work. And you know,
so much.
getting arrested is, I can only imagine. Especially as a doctor, I can only imagine what that feels like. But I thank you for leading the way and going first and showing others what's possible and leading from that heart-centered space with
Thank you so much. I
revolutionary
appreciate that.
optimism. Yeah.
We're in this together. That's a big message too. You know, none of us are doing this alone. So thank you for all you do and for all your listeners for everything they do as love-centered activists. So it's underway. Let's keep going.
100%. Yeah. The ripple is real. The ripple is real. Yeah. So how can people connect with you, learn more about your mission, your vision, and your book, of course?
Yeah, so you can purchase Revolutionary Optimism on Amazon.com or on bookshop.org, which is a pathway through independent bookstores, if you prefer that. There's also a journal and workbook, which I published, which is for folks that want to take notes and do a deeper dive. There's also a discussion questions for groups, because there are practices in the book, like that Future Generations one, and we invite people to do it in groups, deepen friendships, do it with family. It can be really fun because this work is not easy, and it's more fun to do it together. Anyway, so that's the book. And then you can find me on my personal website, drpaulzeitz.org, and you can email me through my website. That comes right to me. And Unified Movements is unifiedmovements.org, and that's where the details of what we're up to with the Declaration of Interdependence and all the papers that we're publishing about the way forward for a new fourth branch of government, a people's assembly, to really create an authentic democracy. You know, this old system cannot be fixed. Let's all join forces and unify to build the new. That's the moment of opportunity I see.
Love it. So profound. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you do. So for our listeners who feel like throwing in the towel or quitting, what is a message of hope that you can offer them?
I invite those folks to look in the mirror. Seriously, just go to the bathroom or bedroom or whatever and look in the mirror and look at you and look at what you're up to and acknowledge yourself for all that you're up to as a love-centered activist. You know, you're already there. Relax, take a breath. You've already living that, and you salute yourself for all that you do for yourself as self-care, self-love, family members, children, parents, loved ones, friends, and then your broader community, and then the broader country and world. So I think that I invite people to really just praise themselves for all they're up to.
Speaking my language, I always encourage my clients to create a ritual of owning and honoring and acknowledging the work that they're doing. So it's beautiful. Yeah.
We are aligned in the divine flow, I can tell.
Very much so. Oh, well, thank you so much for all you do and for being a guest here on Dropped In.
Okay, fantastic. Have a great week.
You too. Thank you so much for dropping in with me today. If you loved this episode, I would be forever grateful if you rated and reviewed. And if you feel called to share it with your community on social media, please tag me so I can thank you personally. Until next time, I will see you on Dropped In.